Hello, I'm David DeZina, Editorial Director at Pflaum Publishing. I would like to show you the new features of our student lessons for the Pflaum Gospel Weeklies. Seeds for Preschool, Promise for grades K and 1, Good News for grades 2 and 3, Venture for grades 4, 5, and 6, and Visions for grades 7 and 8. For Seeds, preschool children will learn about the gospel through talking, listening, singing, storytelling, and colorful hands-on activities. Each lesson is 4 pages. You'll notice at the top, the date follows the liturgical year color, as well as the bottom band. This will be the same for all lessons in every unit. Page 1 is an opening activity, usually centered around the gospel theme. Pages 2 and 3 of each Seeds lesson are either a full page activity, or in this case, a story activity, as well as a coloring activity. Also, you'll see the Family Corner feature, which is now appearing in all 5 levels of the weeklies, both in English and in Spanish for Seeds and Promise levels. Here, there's a Sunday Gospel activity, the Question of the Week, and Family Prayer. The Question of the Week and the Family Prayer are in all 5 levels in exactly the same text. So children in all levels in the same family can be discussing the same question of the week at home and praying the family prayer together as a family. There's also a reference to go on the website. And this can be used for both catechists and parents. And this particularly highlights the seasonal activities that are available free online, that are additional resources that can be used in the classroom or at home. The back page, in this case, it's a welcome activity. The back page is another form of activity that would be provided. Some lessons have cutout activities. Others, again, have coloring or other types of engaging activities for preschoolers. For Promise, grades K and 1 students experience the gospel through storytelling, prayer, and fun activities. And similar to Seeds, you will see the date and the bottom band in liturgical color. Page 1 usually is a gospel story or an opening activity related to the gospel theme. Pages 2 and 3 are either full spread activities or individual activities like you see here. This one is a storytelling activity that also has an on-page part for the children to use. This side are things that they can glue or tape that relate to giving gifts. You'll notice here the Family Corner in English and Spanish, again the Question of the Week, and Family Prayer. And the back page teaches the Lord's Prayer, in this case, using gestures. For grades 2 and 3, Good News features fun hands-on activities, realistic stories, gospel narratives that lead children through the gospel theme of the week. Here you'll see the date and the week of the liturgical year, and the bottom color band, all in the correct liturgical color for that week. Page 1 is an opening activity related to the gospel theme. Page 2 is a story related to the theme of the gospel, but usually not the gospel itself. Page 3 is that gospel reading, written in role-play form. The no questions found in Good News, in this case, relate to the Sunday Gospel and the story, and this is good for discussion questions in class. There is an activity that goes along to reinforce the gospel theme message. And on page 4, you will see connecting gospel and doctrine. Page 3 talks about the gospel itself. Page 4 connects the gospel to church teaching. You'll see a reference here, new this year, to what the church believes and teaches Catechism Handbooks. In this case, it says go to page 30 of your Catechism Handbook. And that relates to the theme presented in this week's lesson. This is followed by and reinforced with additional activities related to the doctrinal theme. And then you'll see a Catholic faith word, in this case, Pharisees. And you will go back to page 3 here and see the word is bold and highlighted. The family corner, as with the other levels, the question of the week and family prayer are the same question and prayer for the entire week. Venture helps 4th through 6th graders in making moral choices and exploring and expanding faith. You will see dramatizations, the use of current events, and stories connecting the gospel to the lives of children. Saint stories and imaginative activities also apply the gospel message. Here you'll see the week and liturgical year and color band, all the same correct liturgical color of the week. An opening activity tied to the gospel theme. Page 2 and page 3 is an opening story related to the theme, but not the gospel itself. The think questions tie to the story. Page 4 is the gospel, again similar to Good News in narrative role-play form. The think questions tied to the gospel. Connecting gospel and doctrine connects the message of the gospel to church teaching. The think questions related to the doctrine appear here, with a reference to the What the Church Believes and Teaches Catechism Handbook. So students will go from the lesson here, the weekly lesson, to the Catechism Handbook for the references related in that handbook to the theme of this week. Then, in Our Catholic Faith, this shows students how to live the gospel message. You also see Catholic faith words bold and highlighted with the definition. A reference to the website similar to what we have in the other levels. And the saint tied to the theme of the gospel in comic form. And living the gospel is an application activity on how to bring the gospel message home and to reinforce that theme. And then every lesson has a prayer service. In this case, it's on the back page that can be used in class. Looking at some other features that can appear in Venture. On the back of one lesson here, you'll see Kid Talk. These are real questions from real students and real users of the program. God Talk questions are also questions about God and faith. And there's also a call for questions here where students can write in their questions and submit them to see in future editions. Another type of activity would be a puzzle activity that you would see at the end of a Venture lesson. And similar to the other levels, With My Family and Friends is known as the Family Corner in Seeds, Promise, and Good News. Here is pray, think, and act. And this is similar to the question of the week and the prayer for the week in the other levels. And they match those levels. Again, so all children in all grades and all families can read the same question for that week. Visions emphasizes Catholic social teaching, moral reasoning, and service for junior high students. There are current interest articles, life dilemma stories, and real Christian life examples. Here you'll see the date, the week of the year, and the color band, all in the correct liturgical color. The opening activity is tied to the theme of the lesson. Pages 2 and 3 serve as an opening story and discussion, using the talk questions as discussion starters. Page 4, similar to Good News and Venture, presents the gospel in role-play format. The talk questions are discussion questions tied to the gospel. Here you'll see connecting gospel and doctrine that connect the theme of the gospel for the week to doctrinal church teachings. The talk questions here apply to connecting gospel and doctrine. You'll see a reference for the students to go directly to what the church believes and teaches as a follow-up and expansion to the gospel and doctrinal theme. A reference to go to the website for seasonal activities and free resources. Here on page 5, the Our Catholic Faith section takes the theme of the gospel and applies it to children's lives. You'll see the church here, this is the faith word bold and highlighted, and then church defined here on page. Living the gospel is an application activity, taking the theme of the doctrine, the theme of the gospel, and applying it to children's lives. Page 8 has several different features each week. This one, Catholic Leaders, talks about Pope Francis. You will see here, With My Family and Friends, similar to the title in Venture, and also the Family Corner in the other 3 levels of the Weeklies. Pray, think, and act. The pray and think features are similar to the question and prayer features in the lower 3 levels. Again, all questions and prayers match all 5 levels for that particular week. Another thing that you will see in some visions lessons are attitudes questions. These are real-life questions, statements, answers from users, from different students throughout the country. And you have an invitation here to send in your questions or your answers for future editions. Each level of the Gospel Weeklies includes, free with your order, What the Church Believes and Teaches Catechism Handbooks. Each level of What the Church Believes and Teaches covers church teaching and has been found to be in conformity with the Catechism of the Catholic Church. They each include age-appropriate content for all 4 parts of the Catechism and include Catholic prayers and words to know. Both the student lessons and the teaching guides have direct correlations to the What the Church Believes and Teaches Catechism Handbooks. In this example from Visions, you'll see in the Connecting Gospel and Doctrine section, here it says to turn to page 47 in the handbook to review the parts of the Mass. So a student would go from the student lesson, open their Catechism Handbook to page 47, read within the treasures of the Catholic faith, the parts of the Mass. The teaching guide guides catechists and teachers to go from the student lesson to the Catechism Handbook and then return back to the week's lesson.